And you're listening to Power Talks with Beth Ann and Melody Cedarstrom in the morning, where talk is real, there is truth in the talk, and there is power in the truth. Welcome to Power Talks this morning. I'm Beth Ann, and say good morning to my partner, Melody Cedarstrom, as we co-host together and empower you, hopefully with truth and only the truth. Good morning, Melody.
Good morning, Beth. Good morning, everyone. It's great to be here today, and we're having a little bit of rain here on the eastern shore of Maryland, but that's okay. We needed it, and far better weather than some places around this country. So I guess
we had a lot of rain and some storms this weekend come through the Midwest, and the sun is shining right now. It was sprinkling when I came in, but the temperatures are dropping. I looked outside at the thermometer. I'm right across from a bank here in little town of California, Missouri, and it said 47 degrees, and I don't like 47 degrees, and Melody said she wanted the cold. I'm going, you can have it. I'll take it.
Oh, I do. I want my grass to stop growing. So stop it. Stop it.
Well, you could always do like they do in the Las Vegas area and just put, what do they call them, rock lawns? They just have rocks out there, so they don't have any grass.
When I moved down, well, I am getting a little older, and I'm on a large lot. It's a little over an acre. And
wow,
so
that is big.
Yeah, so
that's a lot of mowing. You got to bale it.
So I removed a lot of bushes. I removed around the house. I removed a lot of stuff and put in rock. Low maintenance. That's what it's all about when you're a certain
rock,
age.
Flower beds,
no
plastic
flower beds. No flower beds. I have a garden. That's all I need.
I've seen some people that stick the plastic flowers in those flower beds.
I'll put a couple of pots of flowers on the porch.
Well, I'd probably feel the same way if I was the actual one out there doing the mowing, but I'm not the one doing the mowing.
But I love it because all my neighbors kind of look at me like I'm a little.
When you mow?
No, because I pulled out all the flowers. When I moved in, there had to have been 20 rose bushes.
Well, you don't have to mow rose bushes.
No, but you have gnats, and you have to pull the weeds. You have to do all kinds of stuff. So anyway, I love roses. Don't get me wrong.
just not growing them.
Just not growing them.
She wants you to send them to her. What was that post office box again? She wants you to send her roses. She doesn't want to grow roses. Yesterday, we had a crazy show. We got off on some things we had never intended to get off on, which is okay. We hope you enjoyed our entertainment. But I want to remind everyone that Power Talks is sponsored solely right now by Melody Cedarstrom and Discount Gold and Silver Trading. And yesterday we got so carried away that she forgot to give a package that she was going to offer to you. And I said, well, let's start out with that package today so we don't miss it again in case we get fired up about something one more time. So what have you got for us today?
Well, this is a very familiar package. I offer it many times on the Financial Survival radio show, and I offered it here once, and it was very popular. So once again, it's 20 1-ounce American Silver Eagles and 1 1/10 ounce American Gold Eagle. It includes your shipping costs, and the total package is $550. $550 for 20 1-ounce American Silver Eagles, and these are dated 2017. It's the current year, and they'll be switching them over pretty soon. Usually in the mid-November to the end of November, we'll get notices from the U.S. Mint, and they'll say, well, we're not going to, we're only going to sell what we have on our shelf, what they have in inventory, because they're beginning to transition to the new year of 2018. So sometimes we can run into shortages at the end of the year, and it can cause increased premiums. So it's a good time to be buying up, I have to say, the last of the 2017s before we enter the 2018. So it's a nice little package, 20 of the American Silver Eagles and 1 of the 1/10 ounce American Gold Eagle, $550. 1-800-375-4188. That's 1-800-375-4188. Carla's there, ready to take your calls and get your prices locked in. I think we're gonna talk a little bit about taxes. The problem with the tax cuts and everything, there's so little information to go on We don't have the final numbers. We don't have the true, what is it going to be? I mean, there's all kinds of recommendations of what they want to do, but yet we don't have the final numbers to see how it would affect the each and every one of us when it comes to the tax cuts. And I have something here. He's the chief economist at Moody's Analytics. His name is Mark Zandi, and I followed him and watched him over the years. He's part of the elite in the scheme of things. He's basically the chief economist at not only at Moody's Analytics, but he comes out and he works with the job reports at the beginning of each month. He'll release the ADP numbers on Wednesday before the government releases their numbers on Friday. But he came out and said that for the tax cuts, he says, of course, for businesses that would be the big beneficiary of the Republican plan, enjoying an estimated net tax cut of $2.5 trillion over 10 years, ignoring the impact of the tax cuts on the economy and thus tax revenues. Large multinationals would benefit by a move from the current global taxation system to a territorial one. This is all the cash that's sitting on the sidelines, trillions of dollars that they would be able to bring back, and there would be a one-time tax holiday on those trillions of dollars, thinking that these multinational corporations would actually spend it on creating jobs here in this country, which we've had this happen several times. Bush did it. He gave the, repatriated the funds back into this country, and what did these multinational corporations do? They bought more of their shares to keep their stock prices high. None of it filtered down through the economy. And it's the same thing. It all sounds good, but it doesn't do anything. And the thing of it is, if you drop the taxes, the amount that it adds to our deficit, they can't bring enough jobs back. It's not going to raise the revenue that they need in order to pay our bills, because they're not cutting anything. And individuals as a whole get no tax cut under the Republican plan. And this is from Mark Zandi. He's the chief economist. This is how he sees the plan. He says the big winners are the top 5% of taxpayers with current incomes well over $300,000 per year. Taxpayers that make between $150 and $300 per year benefit the least and would actually eventually pay more in taxes. Taxpayers making less than $150,000 will take home a modestly higher sum after tax.
I guess I'm not going to get much.
The stronger growth boosters of the Republican tax proposal argue that it will significantly increase economic growth. You're going to get perhaps quick, you'll get some action in the economy as soon as these are cut. But will we? Because we've seen the stock market continue to rise to record highs based on these tax cuts getting passed. What's going to happen once they get passed? How much more room is there to grow?
Yeah,
so
it's going to be interesting. This isn't anything on details, but this is just
you
can't
get details on anything because
but
they haven't released the details. That's the problem.
Yeah, that's the problem. Well, they told you were going to get a $3,000 raise or $4,000 raise for the year. Okay. On the average. No,
it is going to benefit me because I'm a corporation. Any tax cuts, it will benefit me, but it's not going to benefit the country.
Okay, so this plan was presented to some students, and I imagine you saw this. These are students, college students. And they presented the plan to them and told them it was Bernie Sanders' plan, and they were all in love with it. And then they turned around and showed them the plan and told them it was Donald Trump's. And it was the exact same spiel, only a different author, and they hated it. So that tells you exactly who's thinking for themselves, who's not thinking for themselves, and how the media and the uproar in this nation have really prejudiced things against the president with all their ranting and raving and fake news and lying and carrying on. I mean, they're more of attacking his person than they are his policies. But anyway, I thought that was interesting.
That is interesting. And if anybody who listens to Bernie Sanders, he absolutely comes down bad on this tax plan. So, you're right. These people don't even bother
They're not even listening to Bernie, are they?
They're not even listening to Bernie. It goes to show you that, it is truly amazing. And
it's our college students.
So, but the point is, when this happens, just like Ronald Reagan, he did his tax cuts. When he was done with his term, the deficit was increased by 130%. He had a couple of years where it actually affected the economy, and then we went into a recession. And I don't think you're going to even see. And, hey, if we could turn this economy around, but you can't. Not with the $20 trillion plus in debt. And I really just can't see. There's lots of times I've been proven wrong. There's lots of time, but this time I can't see how this can be turned around by more jobs. I mean, the revenue just wouldn't be there in order to. So, yeah, I do believe our deficit. And you can't. I'm not blaming Trump for trying. That's not where I'm coming off at. I just don't see how this tax plan.
It's not enough.
It's just not enough. If I wanted to see tax reform and simplify, I'm for a 10 or 15% across the board. Everybody gets it. Everybody. Whether you make $20 a year.
Start there. Start there and see where it goes.
Whether you make $20 a year or, $150 million a year, everybody pays a 10% tax cut. And you could do that on a postcard. Here's my wages, here's my 10%, and here's my check. It'd be very, very simple and eliminate all loopholes, eliminate all deductions. And to me, that would be the fairest of all. And but anyway. So I thought that was kind of interesting, and again, it just kind of shows that I don't think this economy is in a position, and just because the stock markets are hitting record highs doesn't mean that the economy is being bettered for that. Again, I think it's part of the reason we're not seeing it trickle down. You're having record high stock markets, earnings. I mean, that's why, big headlines, earnings are fantastic. This is why the Dow is making these record highs, but where is it filtering down to?
When do you think that will start changing and going the other way? I know we have no clue of what's around the corner, but if they do pass this tax reform, this tax bill, do you expect the stock market to go up or do you expect it to go down? I know that it's anticipating so much. That's why it keeps going up. It's what do you call it? Confidence.
Insanity.
It is insanity. But it's showing confidence. There isn't anything really other than that's making it go up.
There isn't anything, we talk about algorithms and we talk about, the computers and that's why it's just constantly going up. There's no reactions to anything. The markets are not, my God, it sounds like we're heading into World War III with North Korea.
And the markets go up.
And gold doesn't do anything. There's no one going into a safe haven. I don't know if Bitcoin, people say, people are putting their money into Bitcoin. That's got to be the silliest thing that people do, put money in Bitcoin. But, that is hitting 6,000, close to 6,000. So
it is. And we are hitting a commercial break. So we're going to do that. I'm going to give the number. It's 717-300-1218. That's 717-300-1218. I have a little something here about math and algebra and geometry that's it's gonna blow your mind, Melody. It's just gonna blow your mind. So we will be back with a little bit of math and algebra and geometry. Give us a call at 717-300-1218, and Melody and Beth Ann will be right back.
Hear it first on FirstAmendmentRadio.com and FirstAmendmentRadio.net. Gold and silver is tremendously undervalued. Global demand vastly exceeds mine supply by more than 60% annually. There is little in the financial world more certain than a coming explosion in the prices of gold and silver. The U.S. dollar continues to lose value and respect as the world's reserve currency. Our nation faces challenges on many fronts, and a day doesn't pass without another economist bringing forth warnings of impending economic calamity. There has never been a better time than right now to acquire physical gold and silver. Discount Gold and Silver Trading was founded on the principles of truth and honesty. We believe in providing a quality product, quality service, and most importantly, competitive pricing. We provide all forms of precious metals, including American gold, silver, platinum, and rare investment and circulated coins. Silver bars, rounds, and 90% silver bags are on hand for the silver investor. Gold self-directed IRAs are available. Call Discount Gold and Silver Trading at 1-800-375-4188. Toll free, that's 1-800-375-4188.
Visit crosstheborder.org, CROSS, crosstheborder.org, to get your print, EPUB, or PDF version of Nicholas Arthur's new book titled When the Third Temple is Built. That's crosstheborder.org. When it comes to prophecy today, much of the evangelical Christian world has their eyes on Israel, waiting and watching to see when the third temple will begin to be built. The plans are drawn. The Jewish people are eager. Most evangelical Christians today believe that the rapture will happen before the third temple is built. Hi, I'm Michael Yuji. I was taught that Daniel's 70th week was in the future. Is that really what the Bible teaches? Have we searched the Scriptures and found this to be true? Why is it so important for a reestablished Israel to build a third temple in Jerusalem? Is it necessary to build a temple on the same location already occupied by the Dome of the Rock? Is it necessary for sacrifices to take place in the temple on Temple Mount? Is there really a rapture followed by 7 years of tribulation? What is the New Testament temple? Can we identify history and prophecy? Who is the first beast in Revelation chapter 13? Who are the 7 kings in Revelation 17? I have asked all these questions, and I have found Nicholas Arthur's new book, When the Third Temple is Built, answers all these questions and more, using Scripture to interpret Scripture. The Bible says that no prophecy of Scripture is of any private interpretation. Nicholas shows us in his new book, When the Third Temple is Built, how the Bible interprets prophecy and not man's private interpretation. Visit crosstheborder.org, CROSS, crosstheborder.org, to get your print, EPUB, or PDF version of Nicholas Arthur's new book titled When the Third Temple is Built. That's crosstheborder.org.
Years ahead of the dominant media, FirstAmendmentRadio.com and FirstAmendmentRadio.net.
And we have returned to listening to Power Talks with Beth Ann and Melody in the morning. Melody, I'd asked her before we went on the air this morning if what's going on with Wells Fargo. Of course, we know they've had a few issues in the last year or two, and I received an article that says that Wells Fargo fired 4 foreign exchange executives amid an investigation into the business, both internally and from regulators. The Wall Street Journal reported that on Friday, citing sources familiar with the matter. Wells Fargo confirmed the departures to the Journal, and so did CNBC. Shares of Wells Fargo remain about 2% higher than they were on Friday afternoon, what they were on Friday afternoon. I think that's when I got this. But it said the bank paid $185 million in penalties after it was revealed last year that employees opened millions of unauthorized consumer deposit and credit card accounts for years in order to meet aggressive sales goals and practice the bank said it was since ended. So it was, they're in a little bit of trouble, and I guess they've just continue to can people, get rid of them.
Well, they are,
but if you knew any more about what was going on there.
Well, they are, but also what they're doing. This was a report by the Charlotte Observer, and it details how the Wells Fargo they're moving a lot of jobs overseas to the Philippines. taking in initially from 100 workers to 4,000 workers, and now announcing that the bank is going to build another facility in the foreign country to add potentially an additional 7,000 workers. So now you have American workers at the company that have been hit with layoffs, and for obvious reasons, for doing what they did, but they're changing their business model. So they're going to lay off. I can't see what the number is, but they're really hitting. In Bethlehem, Pennsylvania, they closed a center where 460 people were employed. In a separate announcement in September, the bank said that 120 people would be laid off through a reverse mortgage operation in Fort Mill, South Carolina. So they are moving off the shores and going over to the Philippines. They're outsourcing U.S. jobs, and things are
more
changing.
Of that going on. Huh?
There really is more of that going on, and I don't, because these companies, as much as we want to bring everything back to this country, we still live in a globalized world, and these multinational corporations, these banks, they're the ones that create the problems to begin with. They're going to do what they need to do to make sure they continue to, be the benefactors. And the thing of it is now that here in the United States, everybody knows that, they had employees that were, were unethical, just a little bit. And so now you have to see if people want to do business, how many people pulled their accounts from Wells Fargo. And then there was one other report that I saw. I didn't have a chance to read it. I just pulled it up. It just came through. But Sears is ending its century-long partnership with Whirlpool. They're struggling, Sears, and it says they're going to stop selling Whirlpools, washing machines, refrigerators, and other appliances. They're also going
That's just wrong.
That's just un-American.
They've been together forever. Okay, go ahead.
Yes.
Sorry.
So, but no, it's just a sign of the times.
Well, the Sears store in Jefferson City at the mall closed. There's still a Sears store in Columbia, Missouri, which is close here. And the Penny's is struggling. Kmart in Jefferson City closed, and it closed in Columbia a long time ago, so there's no Kmart close by. City has 2 Walmarts. It's unreal what's going on, and some of these the old department stores, so to speak, they just can't compete with these cheapies, with Walmart. And I know we all go to Walmart. I try not to go to Walmart. Usually the time I frequent there is usually around Christmas when I can't find something somebody's got on their list, and I have to end up going to Walmart to find it. But it's Whirlpool and Sears, they've been together for a long, long time, so it's kind of
Well, it was just earlier this year that Sears announced that it was going to sell the Kenmore brand products on Amazon. And this would have been the first time it allowed them to be sold anywhere except a Sears store. So, again, I think the breakup is bad for Whirlpool. Their shares dropped 9% in pre-market trading. And so...
Did you live in Missouri long enough to ever visit the Sears and Roebuck building that was downtown Kansas City?
No.
I remember going there as a kid. It was huge, at least I was a kid. It looked huge. It was a huge department store. And Mom and Dad would take us there like at Easter. We got a new dress. The boys got new suits at Easter, new shoes at Easter time. And before school started, Mom would take us shopping. We didn't go shopping very often. We'd get new shoes and maybe a dress or two. She usually made mine. The boys would get a couple of new shirts or something, and Mom never drove, so we'd take the bus. But when we went to Sears, Daddy usually drove us down there, and it was a big Sears. I don't even know if it's open these days. I don't know if my sister's listening or not. She lives up there as the Sears and Roebuck store still. But anyway, it was a huge thing. And, of course, now, we all waited for the wish book to come at Christmas. and go through the wish book, tear it up, and because we went through it so much. Of course, there was 5 of us kids going through the wish book, and you just don't see that anymore because everything's done online, and it's just a different world than what we grew up in, Melody. It's just a different world.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is.
Going back, go ahead.
We have a caller. Joe.
Oh, I'm sorry, I missed that.
We have Morning Joe.
Good morning.
Good morning, Joe.
Well, good morning, Melody, and good morning, Beth. You were talking about taxes earlier, and I want to say this about taxes. And that's it. I think it's an example of how far this country has degraded and degenerated from what it originally was. That the tax system that our founding fathers wanted to have, is completely unthinkable now. Nobody's even talking about it. But it would be the sort of tax system that would really make life good and prosperous in this country. Whereas this other stuff, I think Trump's plan might help a little bit, but it's nowhere near, what I would consider ideal and what would make life really good and really prosperous in this country. And I once heard Tommy Cryer, who unfortunately died a few years ago, but he was an attorney from Louisiana, and he was a real tax expert. And I heard him say in a radio interview that what our founding fathers intended was that we would have no income tax. There would not be any taxes on the labor of the American people, and you can see in the Constitution it says, the federal government is not allowed to have direct taxes, which is what income tax is, by that sort of legal definition. And, of course, they had to pretend that the 16th Amendment was passed in order to get the income tax, to get that sort of direct taxing power. And as I understand it, was the Secretary of State at the time, Philander Knox, he lied and told Congress that the 16th Amendment had been passed when it actually hadn't. So that's how we got income tax, apparently. But what Tommy Cryer said was that the founding fathers intended no income tax on the labor of the people, but that the federal government would be supported mostly by tariffs on imports. And so if we had that sort of tax system, of course, that would make imports more expensive than stuff produced in this country. So this would cause a tremendous flourishing of agriculture and manufacturing in this country, and we would have tremendous trade with each other. And when we bought stuff, the money would circulate mostly inside the country rather than going out, hemorrhaging outside of the country, and we never see it again. And so we have to keep borrowing more and more and more to keep the economy going. In order to, if we have to, what we have now is we have an economy based on borrowing money to buy stuff from other countries, and and instead of circulating, earn money inside this country. So anyway, that's the sort of tax system our founding fathers originally wanted us to have. No income tax, no taxes on the labor of the people, but tariffs on imported stuff, and so that agriculture and manufacturing would absolutely flourish in this country. And but now that sort of thinking is not the slightest part of the national conversation. I don't hear any of the great so-called conservative patriotic commentators, say anything about a system like that. I seem to be about the only person in the country that thinks along these lines at all. And so it's an example of what I say, that the country has got so degraded from what it originally was, that the sort of tax system that our founding fathers wanted, that would have really made life in this country good and prosperous, is unthinkable and absolutely not part of the national conversation anymore at all. So anyway, I wanted to do what I can to reintroduce that kind of thinking into the country. So thank you for the opportunity to speak about this on your radio show.
Absolutely. Thank you,
Joe.
Thank you, Joe. Appreciate it very much. Well, I had another article I wanted to share, but I want to move on to this one because something Joe said when you talk about the taxes. And I know this isn't really tax related at all, but what it does to this nation, I got this yesterday afternoon, late afternoon, and Mexico, he decides to chime in on our sanctuary cities. Now, you would think that a foreign country that has people running across the border away from that country would be concerned about that. But no, they want these sanctuary cities, and he's chiming in on that debate here in the U.S., and it says Mexico has entered the sanctuary city debate by submitting a brief to the U.S. Fifth Circuit Court of Appeals. That's right. a country wholly separate from America, thinks it can influence the court system here in the United States. Now, I don't know why when he was talking about the taxes that sparked my interest in this, but what is it that, why would another country want their people to come in here? Now, we know they send all kinds of money back. But you would think they would try to make their country better so people would want to stay in their country. And who is he that he's going to send this brief to the U.S. Fifth Circuit Court of Appeals? When are they going to read the Constitution? I mean, when are we going to listen to what's going on in this nation and really see? Are the scales ever going to fall from the eyes of the people that we think that this is the way it should be? It says here the brief was filed Thursday and says that banning sanctuary cities in Texas would harm diplomatic relations between the two countries. So if they say that Texas can't have sanctuary cities, it's going to hurt Mexico. Basically, Mexico has said that if there aren't any sanctuary cities, it won't bode well for the lawbreakers who try to sneak in to America and steal taxpayer resources. I was just absolutely amazed by this article that, it says it adds that whenever state or local officials act to create a sanctuary for illegal aliens, the government, we should have had Mike on at this. The government can't do anything about it and therefore runs the risk the actions of a state of its official regarding immigration enforcement could irreparably damage U.S. foreign policy interests with respect to the particular country, which they mean Mexico.
That breaks my heart, yeah.
I mean, don't you just want to take the man and shake him and slap him and tell him, don't let the door hit you on the way out? I mean, who does he think he is? That they think that they could come into our courts and influence our immigration laws? It's just amazing. Just amazing.
You know what? It isn't the first time.
No, I know, but I haven't ever heard of them issuing a brief to a court.
Not that particular one, but I mean, we haven't had any leaders for so long. I mean, my gosh, there's areas that they want, the little communities that are setting up Sharia law.
I know.
And it's like, how's that even beginning to happen?
Well, and this Mexico, the illegal aliens coming across here, and not all of them, but that's where the majority of the drugs are coming in. Mm-hmm. And here we're complaining about the opioid addictions here in the United States. And these people that think, oh, it's so nice, we can't let them go. Oh, we have to. He wants them over here. Why does he want his people over here? Wake up and think about that a little bit. Not you, I know you know. But, I mean, why?
I lived in Arizona for 25 plus years. I know exactly. This has been a problem for a very long time. I can remember in the 80s, ranchers were having problems with them coming across their border, destroying their properties, hurting their animals, killing, and so it's been a long battle. And so it's taken how many years to get to where we are today, and it's still a big battle. So, but anyway.
Well, I just know that there's something wrong when a president or an official of another nation wants their people to leave and go somewhere else, and
yeah, but it's
so much so that they want to influence the court system here. There's something wrong with that picture.
Well, what's wrong with this picture? Allowing them to be here illegally. We've adopted that rule of law for a long time, and only now trying to reverse it. Pardon?
You're throwing that "we" word out there a little loose. I didn't adopt it. I didn't do it.
We've adopted it by voting all of those in, but I mean, it's the same old story. It hasn't changed, and hopefully with some of the laws coming down from the White House now, that will make little strides in correcting these problems and eliminating the sanctuary cities, but then you say he's not gonna fund the sanctuary cities, and the first thing you have, the sanctuary cities are suing President Trump. It's just like, it's bizarre.
Yeah, absolutely.
I get a loss
crazy.
at words sometimes because it is. It's crazy. It's crazy.
Well, I guess I don't understand. They go in and they talk about these illegal aliens have a constitutional right. What do you mean they have a constitutional right? They're not a citizen of this nation. Now, we are to treat them respectfully.
Absolutely, as
but they don't have rights over the citizens of this nation, and they don't come first. And that's the way this seems to be going, particularly with the liberal end, and I know that the ones calling themselves conservative are not totally not on board, should I say? But the Democrat Party, that they can't get enough foreigners in here. We have already been invaded, so it's just crazy what's going on, and the fact that he.
What's that? Don't you know they're just coming here for a better life?
Well, you'd think this
what's
official
wrong
would
with the
wonder
life
why
of the American
his people don't have a good life there.
Well, what about the life of the American people?
Exactly.
The competition that they brought in for jobs, and it's only dropped wages for the American people. It hasn't helped the American people. We pay higher taxes because we subsidize all of their benefits that they receive when they come over here. Illegally.
Yes, they get more than I do. But seriously,
so it is.
I've been struggling for so long, and it's like maybe I should go on that and quit working and just say, to heck with it. I'm going to let everybody else support me. It's just, I don't believe that. I don't want to do that. That's not my way of thinking. But I just, it blows my mind that somebody from another nation is okay with their people leaving it and coming over here. In fact, they want to, not just that, they want to make sure that we have them here. They want to influence our court system. They want to influence our Constitution and our laws. And you can't go to Mexico. Let's turn this around. You can't just walk into Mexico. They'll throw you in the deepest cell hole there is. They're not going to let you do that.
Hey, we have a couple of calls coming, and we should get them to them before the break. So how about the first call we have is Neil calling us. Good morning,
okay.
Neil.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Yeah, I was calling
Neil.
about the tax issue. The U.S. Supreme Court has ruled several times, and it's set in stone now that the 16th Amendment added no new taxing powers to the federal government. Their
Say that
taxing
again,
powers
I don't
added
understand.
The 16th Amendment added no new taxing powers to the federal government. In other words,
okay.
The 16th Amendment argument is irrelevant. All right, the whole Irwin Schiff program of, the 16th Amendment isn't valid and therefore they can't collect income tax. You use that argument in court, you're going to prison. It's just that simple. Now, where did they get the new taxing powers? They got it from the Foreign Agents Registration Act. Okay, that's where their power comes from. If you operate as an agent of a foreign corporation by using Federal Reserve notes, you are then obligated to pay the tax. So the simple way to quit paying income tax is quit using Federal Reserve notes. Stick with checks, money orders, which are denominated in dollars, and use coins. Don't use the paper. And then when the IRS wants to haul you into court, make them flip the check over. The check is signed, cashed in coin. Bring in the witnesses from the local stores where you shop. Yeah, that's the guy that comes in with a sack of coins and pays everything with coins. Now the IRS has got nothing to go on. The foundation of their power comes from the Foreign Agents Registration Act, which requires that you file a business report every year, which is your 1040. So you're not even required to file a 1040 if you're not using Federal Reserve notes. So, just Look up some of the Supreme Court cases. I don't have them right in front of me involving the 16th Amendment and all these other arguments. If you stick with straight barter, trade, I mean, that's the other way. As long as it's an even exchange and there's no dollar amounts involved in the exchange of goods or services, there's nothing there for the government to tax. So,
all right. I have heard that before.
Need to know.
I know that there
was
there. Okay, Melody.
No, it was interesting because when he was saying about trading, it's like even with gold, you can trade gold for gold, and there's no 1099s that are generated, or silver for silver, there are no 1099s generated, and so it is interesting, and it's all there, and it's all true. But we live in a world today, very few people. I don't know. How do you change? We don't change. How do you change? How do you go back?
Yeah. It's I know that there was and this was when I was still working for Derry Brownfield when he was still living, and there was a I believe it was a construction company, and he was paying his workers, his laborers in silver, in coin, and somebody tried to call him out on it, but he won that. Mm-hmm. He won that, and so I think that's exactly what Neil's talking about, and I have heard that before. Appreciate it, Neil. Let's move real quickly to Oscar from North Carolina. I think, we really don't have time, do we? We'll get Oscar started. Oscar?
Good morning, ladies.
Good morning,
How
Oscar.
are you?
Good morning, Oscar.
Good.
Okay, I got a few things that I would like to point out. First and foremost, I'm sure you're all aware about the North American Union, which involves the United States, Canada, and Mexico.
Correct.
All right. At the time when the thing was accord, it was not signed, because if it would have been signed, it would have been discussed in Congress. It was just a verbal treaty, so nobody can touch it. Very smart move. Now, the President of the United States at the time.
Oscar, can you hold? Because we're going into a break, and I want to hear what you have to say. If you could just hold for us, please. Because we're going into a break. Can you hold? I hate to cut you short, but we're not going to have time. All right, thank you, Oscar. We're going into a break. Your calls are welcome at 717-300-1218. That's 717-300-1218. Melody, Beth Ann, and Oscar will be right back. The Civil War did not...
Hear it first on FirstAmendmentRadio.com and FirstAmendmentRadio.net. Since the beginning of time, kings have sought it, nations have fought for it. It has been traded, it has been borrowed, it has been purchased, it has been stolen. There's a reason for it. To secure the blessings of liberty to ourselves and to our posterity, invest with the security of gold and silver. Call Discount Gold and Silver Trading at 1-800-375-4188 or visit discountgoldandsilvertrading.net. Listen to Financial Survival with your host Melody Cedarstrom right here on FirstAmendmentRadio.com at 4 p.m. Eastern or 1 p.m. Pacific Time. Visit discountgoldandsilvertrading.net or call Discount Gold and Silver Trading at 1-800-375-4188. Toll free 1-800-375-4188. The program you are listening to is 100% sponsored by you, the listener, on this First Amendment Rights Media channel. You will notice that there are few commercials on this radio network. There's a good reason for that. Corporate advertising dollars come with strings that limit program content. So without your help, these programs cannot continue on Internet or our several affiliates. If you benefit by the educational law programs, we ask you to give. If you are admonished or nurtured by the Bible and ministry programs, we ask you to give. If some voice a cause that you are passionate about, we ask you to give. If you believe in any of these, we ask you to support them as you would a missionary on a continual basis, as if giving a tithe for missionary radio. These programs are not commercially viable and must be supported by those faithful to the cause of truth. Look for the button to sponsor your favorite programs at our listen and schedule pages on the Internet. Then, when you subscribe, we will send you the last quarterly MP3 CD of that program immediately, and continue to do so with each new quarter. We will also give you unlimited archive access to all of our programs. We're asking you to give much less than a tithe, so that you may also send support directly to a particular program host, cause, and anywhere else the Spirit may lead you. Do all to the glory of our God and Creator, for His holy nation, the only kingdom that will last forever. Thank you for listening. Hear it first on FirstAmendmentRadio.com and FirstAmendmentRadio.net.
And we have returned. You're listening to Power Talks. We're in the final segment of today's show. And as we were going into the break, I had to stop Oscar. He had some things he wanted to share with us, and I knew that we weren't going to have time. So we're going to go back to Oscar. Oscar, continue on.
Yes, I'm here. I started to talk about the North American Union, which involved, at the time, George W. Bush, President of the United States, the Canadian Premier at the time, I can't remember his name, but I know who was the President of Mexico at the time, the same individual that came here at the beginning of President Donald Trump taking up office, advocating for the illegals. And you were making some remarks about this. Why do they want these people to come here? The simple answer is this, because the Mexicans want them to be here, and we want them to be here. I'm going to start with we. Who are we? The corporations, the big, fat corporations that have taken over and hijacked this country. These people, they want the illegals here because they pay them cash money. They don't have to report no Social Security benefits for nobody. They don't have to pay tax. They don't have to report for no Medicare or Medicaid or nothing. So therefore, whatever money that comes into their pockets, it goes right and stays there. And they pay these illegals cash money, and very good money, by the way, so it would make it attractive for them to want to hold those positions. Now, going to the other side, Mexico. Why the Mexicans want the people here? Because that represents in Mexico an income of $20 billion a year, billions with a B. So they want it because these people come here and make cash and they send all the money back to Mexico. All right? That does not help our economy, does not help us at all. And two reasons, because that money is out of here, and second of all, because they take jobs that the American people or the Mexicans that got papers want to take up. And they don't want them. They tell them, no, we don't hire people with papers here. I've been told by the horse's mouth. I know what I'm saying. And now on the other side, on the other hand, as far as the drugs are concerned, that is a very lucrative business for both sides, because these people, they cross the border and they tell them, well, I'm going to help you to cross, but you're going to have to bring drugs to the United States. And that is everybody involved. Now, ladies, I've heard you talk about this a few times, and I was making notes about it, and I developed some thoughts about it also, as far as that we have to elect individuals with morals, with principles, and this and that. I'm here to tell you that nobody is going to get in the ticket, not one single person that does not belong to a secret society, and that it would be even the Masons, it would be the Trilateral Commission, it would be the Council on Foreign Relations, and the United Nations. So if you don't belong to none of that, you're not going to be able to run. It's simple as that. And once you belong to one of those secret societies, you are corrupted from the day one. So we here absolutely trapped. Now, I've heard Melody several times referring about God. God is the only solution for this country. Now, this government of ours, and I dare to say the world, is being hijacked by a group of elitists that are controlling everything. The international bankers, the I mean, everything that is concerned with money, everything, these people control our government. And these people are not Christians. They have their own God. Now, I'm going to give every single American, a job to find out who are these people. It's very simple to find out. People that don't love Jesus, they don't love God, they got their own God, and that God is Lucifer. So I know what I'm talking about. You may think I'm crazy, but I'm not. Do your homework, research, and you're going to find out who is the one that had hijacked our country and our government and subsequently the world. Ladies, I thank you so much for letting me talk. I talk so much anyway. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Oscar.
Thank you, Oscar. And Oscar, you are right on every point that you shared with us today. And I agree with you. I mean, the world has been hijacked. But when it comes to our elections, and yeah, I agree. The elite, the chosen,
we don't want
the
to,
positions,
but we do.
The positions that mean anything, yes, they're groomed. Our presidents, I believe, they're groomed. There's times I ask myself, was Mr. Trump groomed in some manner? I mean, he's been wanting to, they've positioned him to run for president since the mid-'80s or the early '80s, mid-'80s, late '80s. So, I ask myself questions. I don't have proof on that or not, but we can't stop trying. We have to, look at our elections and start locally and work small and so forth. But the bottom line is they needed to reduce our country. Well, they had to lower our standard of living, and it's all part of their plan. It's all part of the agenda. They brought other nations up. They took our nations down. They want an equal distribution of living standards around the world. They've conquered, they divided, and they've conquered. I believe there isn't anything, personally, this is what I personally believe, they can't change anything. First we got to bring God in, but we can't change anything until this system collapses. We can try, we can work, we can educate, we can try to understand why it's happening, who's in charge. I always look, it's just not politics. You do have to look at the higher level. It is good versus evil, and that's what we're experiencing. And I think that's why there's so many things that happen that, we can't explain. We can't, that shouldn't happen or this shouldn't happen, because it's at such a higher level, and many people just don't understand. They don't look at it that way, but it is a battle. And but as far as bringing it to this level, to you and me, to politics, to something that we can have an impact during our life to, try and change things, is you're right. We need to bring God back. I was telling Beth before the program, Elon Musk. There was a guy, he's Google's self-driving car engineer. And he has established a nonprofit religious organization. His name is Anthony Lewandowski. And the organization is called Way of the Future. And this is their mission statement, is to develop and promote the realization of a Godhead based on artificial intelligence, and through understanding and worship of the Godhead contribute to the betterment of society. I mean, these people are insane, but the question is, with today's youth, how they embrace technology, and how, we have a falling away from God. And yesterday we talked about the churches, how they're merging because they can't support themselves based on what they teach, and this is where we're headed. There's going to be a wake-up call. I'm going to love that wake-up call, when it happens. I'm hopeful, but this is where we're headed. And so we can talk about what we can do to change things around. We can talk about tax cuts. We can talk about this and that. But I'm sorry, I believe we're on this path. And I personally don't believe we can turn it around. That doesn't mean I'm going to stop trying to turn it around, to do things, to help people, so they can understand. That's why I sell gold and silver. We're going to have a lot of hard bumps along the way. And, and I believe gold and silver is a way to help people financially as we go across these bumps that we have. And they're just not going to be little bumps. I mean, they're going to be mountainous bumps. So, very good call, Oscar. Thank you very much, because you said a lot, and you said it very well. So thank you.
Absolutely. And we know that there is only one solution, and that's if the American people get on their knees and begin to pray. But, we also have to take action. We need to keep that phone number. We need to be, right now, with what's going on, we need to call Jeff Sessions to action. The Attorney General needs to be taking action. We didn't even talk about any of that stuff. But the corruption is to the hilt in this nation, and it is because evil has taken over, because good people have done nothing. We've sat here and allowed it. There, I use the word we. But we really have. We trusted the elected officials for so many years, and look how long this has been going on. It didn't just happen in the Obama administration. It's just getting worse. I hear music. We're out of time for today. We will be back tomorrow to give you another chance to have your voice heard on Power Talks. Thank you, Melody.
Thank you.
Have a wonderful afternoon.
You too.
Visit crosstheborder.org, CROSS, crosstheborder.org, to get your print, EPUB, or PDF version of Nicholas Arthur's new book titled When the Third Temple is Built. That's crosstheborder.org. When it comes to prophecy today, much of the evangelical Christian world has their eyes on Israel, waiting and watching to see when the third temple will begin to be built. The plans are drawn. The Jewish people are eager. Most evangelical Christians today believe that the rapture will happen before the third temple is built. Hi, I'm Michael Eugene. I was taught that Daniel's 70th week was in the future. Is that really what the Bible teaches? Have we searched the Scriptures and found this to be true? Why is it so important for a re-established Israel to build a third temple in Jerusalem? Is it necessary to build a temple on the same location already occupied by the Dome of the Rock? Is it necessary for sacrifices to take place in the temple on Temple Mount? Is there really a rapture followed by 7 years of tribulation? What is the New Testament temple? Can we identify history and prophecy? Who is the first beast in Revelation chapter 13? Who are the 7 kings in Revelation 17? I have asked all these questions, and I have found Nicholas Arthur's new book, When the Third Temple is Built, answers all these questions and more using Scripture to interpret Scripture. The Bible says that no prophecy of Scripture is of any private interpretation. Nicholas shows us in his new book, When the Third Temple is Built, how the Bible interprets prophecy and not man's private interpretation. Visit crosstheborder.org, CROSS, crosstheborder.org, to get your print, EPUB, or PDF version of Nicholas Arthur's new book titled When the Third Temple is Built. That's crosstheborder.org.
The book of Revelation says, the spirit of prophecy is the testimony of Jesus Christ. This is at the very heart of FirstAmendmentRadio.com. In that spirit, we have created the Prophecy Reality News app for all of your mobile devices, streaming First Amendment Radio 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Available for your Apple, Android device, and smartphone, absolutely free. Get the Prophecy Reality News app installed today, so you can listen to First Amendment Radio wherever you are. The Prophecy Reality News app. Get it now.
Since the beginning of time, kings have sought it, nations have fought for it. It has been traded, it has been borrowed, it has been purchased, it has been stolen. There's a reason for it. To secure the blessings of liberty to ourselves and to our posterity. Invest with the security of gold and silver. Call Discount Gold and Silver Trading at 1-800-375-4188 or visit discountgoldandsilvertrading.net. Listen to Financial Survival with your host Melody Cedarstrom right here on FirstAmendmentRadio.com at 4 p.m. Eastern or 1 p.m. Pacific Time. Visit discountgoldandsilvertrading.net. or call Discount Gold and Silver Trading at 1-800-375-4188. Toll free 1-800-375-4188.